Now, if I was to say to you, Blackpool, you would immediately think of the Tower, the Pleasure Beach and Winter Gardens. But long before that, the original attraction for Blackpool was right here at Raikes Hall Gardens, also known as the Royal Palace Gardens in Blackpool. But to look at it today, I mean, there isn't much remaining, but that's why we're here. We're going to go have a look round and see if we can find anything that is left at Raikes Hall. And also, I'm going to do a load of before and after pictures to show you what this used to look like. Built between 1750 and 1760, Raikes Hall started out as a private residence, and it was the first private home in Blackpool to introduce carpets. It changed hands many times throughout its early life, and ended up being purchased by a couple of entrepreneurs in 1870. The two entrepreneurs, Joseph Smith and Adolph Moritz, decided to build their dream project of a large pleasure gardens and entertainment complex, and duly set up a company to manage the estate called Raikes Hall Park Gardens and Aquarium Company. Ideally located at the time, just outside of the rapidly growing resort of Blackpool, and a short carriage ride away from the nearest train station of Blackpool North. But away from the hustle and bustle of the seafront, which would later contribute to its downfall. It opened as a pleasure gardens, with its large ornate gated entrances and sweeping carriageways adorned with many statues, some of which still survive today in various locations, like at a retirement home in Garstang, and some elements relocated to Stanley Park. It had many attractions inside the gardens, including an opera house, Indian pavilion, a monkey house, conservatory, aquarium, roller skating rink, roller coaster, aviary, large boating lake, fountains, and a sporting arena. It also featured a large round-shaped building known as Niagara that had a replica of Niagara Falls on the inside walls. This was later relocated to Rigby Road in Blackpool as the Colosseum, where the Home Bargains currently stands today. On paper, it sounded like the northern answer to Crystal Palace Park, only without the opulent palace. Many famous artists, performers, and even royalty visited the gardens at various points. It attracted many thousands of locals and tourists to see its attractions, shows, and events. It was the first entertainment complex to be lit using the new electric lights, which some say was the start of the Blackpool illuminations. The Raikes Hall Gardens was renamed to the Royal Palace Gardens in 1887 to commemorate Queen Victoria reaching her 50th year on the throne. Visitors' tastes were rapidly changing in Blackpool as more entertainment venues such as the Tower, Winter Gardens and the Pleasure Beach opened closer to the seafront, and also much closer to Blackpool's many railway stations. Visitor numbers started to decline to the gardens, and some might say it was sabotaged by John Bickerstaff, who then had business connections to the Blackpool Tower amongst various other attractions in Blackpool. In 1900, Raikes Hall and its gardens were put up for sale, and eventually sold as plots of land for housing. In 1901, the builders moved in, and elegant Victorian houses, villas and facilities opened up on the former site, leaving only Raikes Hall standing, turning it into a pub and hotel for the new residents in the former grounds of the hall. So this whole site used to be a vast parkland, and there weren't much in the way of housing or buildings up here back then. All of what you see in front of us was built immediately after it closed in the early 1900s. This place opened in the 1870s, so long before most other attractions in Blackpool. And as a consequence of its closure, all the land was sold to a housing developer who built all the houses that we're going to see today, and also some other fine buildings that look really old anyway, like this one to my right, which is the Salvation Army building today. Let's make our way around the front of the Salvation Army building, and right here would have been the original grand entrance or gateway into Raikes Hall, which would have headed down that way. And you would have had a really nice grand avenue heading into the park with statues adorning both sides. And that grand entrance was right here. Now obviously we can't see that grand entrance today because the Salvation Army building stands where it was. However, it does still exist. It was literally picked up brick by brick and moved to another local attraction in Blackpool, or technically Fleetwood. And we're going to go look at that right now. So let's jump to that and I'll show you where the original grand entrance to Raikes Hall is now. So I've made it down to Fleetwood and the Memorial Park in Fleetwood. And look what's behind me here. This is the original gateway or entrance gate into Raikes Hall and the grounds, or the Royal Palace Gardens. They moved it to here when the park closed all them years ago. So let's head inside and have a look at the other side of it, and then I'll see if I can do another photo match to this gate. So I was just going to do a lovely photo fade to show you the gates then and now. But as I'm looking at the gates, I've just noticed these are slightly different. This has only got a single arch in the middle, whereas the ones at Raikes Hall had two. So maybe it was remodelled when they brought it here. Maybe they just used a part of it to build what was here. I don't know. That's very strange, but apparently it is the original gate from Raikes Hall. That's what I'm told anyway. It bloody better be, after coming all the way out here to see that. So I'm now around the back of the Salvation Army building. So behind where the original gated entrance would have been. And just to my left here is where the Grand Avenue would have been. And I'm going to do a photo fade for you now, just so you can see what was right here. This Grand Avenue used to head inside the park. And as you can see, the statues on both sides lining that walkway. And right at the end, you can see a large glass building. And that would have been the giant monkey house. And then off to the right, you would have had Raikes Hall and all the other attractions in the park. And then we'll fade back to present day, and as you can see, more housing and nice looking buildings. So right here is the original Raikes Hall that was built in 1760. So this is the only major building that remains on the site, and it was also here well before the gardens themselves. Now today it's used as a pub and a function room, but it was much more than that back in the day. So here we have a before and after picture of Raikes Hall. So now we're going to go back into the Victorian period and one of the earliest known photographs of this building. And as you can see on there, nothing much has changed apart from the surroundings of the actual building. But as you can see today, it's surrounded by these many streets and houses and various buildings, and it looks so different to what it would have done. But this would have been situated right in the centre of this major park. So as we look at the site today, right in front of us, you would have had a grand carriageway right there, heading in from the main road and down into the park and the hall itself. Now that road still exists today, now Liverpool Road, and again lined with houses. And all this would have been the grand entrance coming down from the main entrance of the archway into the park. And most of the park would have literally been behind it here. Now just behind Raikes Hall you would have had a massive complex right there, which would have housed a giant ballroom, an Indian lounge and many other features inside there. I'll try to show you a picture of that now. But as you can see, it's all long gone. and today it's nothing more than a bowling green just behind that wall there. So this is all that remains today of what was once the large building behind, which probably was the main attraction back in the day. Like I said, a huge ballroom, which the tower also has, and winter gardens. So you can see where the competition came from. But also many other attractions in here. Like I said, an Indian lounge, again, which the winter gardens also has. We've also just had a look, and I thought at first that this wall surrounding the bowling green could have been an original part of the building, but it's highly unlikely. A lot of this would have been demolished way back, and all this wall actually looks quite modern, probably built around the same time as all the housing in the area. Now, just at the side of that building there was a grand terrace, or a dancing platform as it's listed on a map. So somewhere along this line here would have been a huge terrace with a huge wall around it, overlooking the gardens which were behind there. So you had down there a little boating lake, you had loads of plants and trees, and basically a beautiful scenic garden. And it dropped away over that wall. So you can imagine roughly where this wall is here now. There was a huge drop down the other side, and then the gardens in front of you. Obviously today it's all been levelled off and it slopes down gradually to the main road on the other side. But this is what is left of what would have been here, and it's just so hard to believe that we would have been stood probably where royalty stood, right here on the Grand Terrace. So we've just moved a bit further round from Raikes Hall, which is just down there on the right. And again, you would have had the Indian lounge and the ballroom just behind these properties here. But right in front of us here would have been a large playing field, sports field right there, and a huge lake with a running track all the way around it. Now this would have extended all the way up to the boundary of the park up there. Now it's worth mentioning that on this ground here, which was also a cricket ground, they had a grandstand and a football pitch. This is where Blackpool FC originated from before Bloomfield Road. Now Blackpool FC played here from 1888 up until 1899. They were one of the earliest football teams in the world. But of course now they play at Bloomfield Road, which is very close to the old Blackpool Central Station. So we're now stood on Hornby Road, which heads all the way down into Blackpool. And right on this corner here of Hornby Road and Raikes Parade, funnily named that, there used to be another gate here known as the Hornby Road entrance. And again, this was quite an opulent gate with a gatehouse just behind it, or a toll house as it's named on the maps. So again, I'm going to fade a picture in right now and show you that gate and the gatehouse to the right hand side, which would have been on the lower corner of the Royal Palace Gardens. And right behind that would have been the cricket and football field, and also the lake to the left of that. Just as we are walking down Raikes Parade back to what was the main entrance, we've just spotted these statues in this garden here. Now this looks familiar. It looks like something that would appear at Raikes Hall. I'm not 100% sure, was that from Raikes Hall or not? It seems to fit in. If you would like a bit more in-depth history about Raikes Hall Gardens, there's a fantastic book available. A link will be in the description below. Well, thank you very much for joining us on that video. I hope you enjoyed the look around Raikes Hall and what it used to be. It's really fascinating. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. A big thanks to Kye for bringing me out to Fleetwood and showing me where this entrance was. See you all next week in the next one. Bye for now.